The 2026 Integrity Racing League playoffs have begun. 16 of the fastest drivers through our first 20-plus races have qualified for the opportunity to go all the way and win a title this year. From our dominant driver, Ethan Lane, who comes into the night with 10 victories on the season, all the way down to the dramatic last lap moves that got Brad Patton into his playoff spot. The tally has been set, the drivers have been selected, and the track too tough to tame is the opening host. Welcome back to the Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina for opening coverage of the 2026 playoffs, the 24th race of the Integrity Racing League season. I'll be your host for tonight's coverage. I'm David Droids, commentating and producing what could be the most important race of the season yet. It's been a barn burner from beginning to end thus far, and the great racing, especially in the late summer stretch, has improved in quality and quantity. Talladega came down to a checkered flag finish under caution with a first-time winner in the form of David Davis. Tonight, from Darlington, South Carolina, the odds are in the veteran's favor, and it is currently at the top of the board, Ethan Lane. Let's take a look downstairs to your final qualifying drivers tonight. Lane leads the way with Nick Tarbuck, your man who was second in points. He finds himself there, second in qualifying, so it's a pretty fitting spot for him. Wetmore here, getting himself going for the final minute of the session. 41 seconds left in qualifying. We have around 32 drivers with us tonight, and so far 22 of which have taken a time. Wetmore going to get a practice lap in as Blake Cannon heads to the circuit. He'll be heading on a little bit too late to set a time down, as will John DeBarro. John going for his third and final lap. So for all intents and purposes, the qualifying lineup has already been decided, and it appears that tonight, Ethan Lane will be the man at the top of the board. DeBarro, your third seed heading into the day. Still looking for his maiden victory. He will qualify in at ninth. And at the top of the scoring loop, the one and only, your regular season champion by a lion's share, Ethan Lane. Lane to the pole position once again this season, and he's looking to go for back-to-back titles and hoping to pull away as the playoffs begin tonight from Darlington. He will be lining up on the front row alongside his closest championship contender in the form of course, Nick Tarbuck. The second man in points is now head-to-head with him, only 10 points apart for Ethan Lane. That's his 11th pole of the season as he looks after his 11th win on the campaign. The qualifying lineup has been set firmly with some of the fastest drivers in this field at the front of it, and many of which, as a matter of fact, are playoff contenders. Take a look at tonight's starting grid and you'll see the who's who at the head of the field. Drivers who are marked in integrity blue. All of your top 6 drivers being examples of which they are playoff contenders. So let's go down the line, starting with the start in Ethan Lane. Lane grabs his 11th consecutive, or rather his 11th total pole position, and is coming off the back of a previous championship and 10 wins this season. He'll be lining up alongside Nick Tarbuck, who is looking to make it back to victory lane for the first time in 2 years. Tarbuck has not been able to get there since 2024, but don't be surprised if he does. The multi-time runner-up finisher this season lines up second, and he'll be ahead of Nicholas Ward, who begins today in third. Ward having his best season in points so far. He arrives into the playoffs the 7th seed. Brad Patton is able to scrape through with a third-place finish. He got that done in Talladega. He makes his way on as the 16th and last seed. Sam Nieto is 5th, and 6th is Cody Smith. All of the following drivers are eligible for the title, and they will be accompanied by some close competitors not too far behind. Ryan Potter looks to spoil the show, but John DeBarro, Jacob Fife, Nolan Potter, 11th place is Nate Campbell, and 12th place Alex Kim are all also championship eligible as marked by the blue in their number boxes. They will be the drivers to look out for just behind the leading 6. 13th place is Zach Schrintenel, and a few others in the playoff mix include 14th place Ryan Bean and 16th place Robert Richardson. Kevin Matz goes 15th with Bobby Keith in the 17th place. Austin Cardulles is 18th position, and the final men in the top 20, Sean Kalist and Eric McFarland. Eli Cars lines up alongside David Davis, who by virtue of his first win at Talladega locked himself into the playoffs on the last night of racing. James Thurston and Trevor Trago making their way as the final in the top 24 bracket. Well, you'll see Trevor Trago, driver of the number 37, alongside Thurston. They both did not take times. They'll be starting at the back as a result. Then from there, you'll have Don Stevenson, Tom Wetmore, Blake Cannon, Aaron Eads, Josh Gallagher, and Randy Fiash for 30th. Your final official starter on the night will be 31st, and last, that will be Kent Wetherell in the 70. 16 rows, 15 are filled, and Kent Wetherell will be the final of all drivers tonight. He'll find himself rolling off 31st and last from the circuit known as the Lady in Black. Welcome back to Darlington Raceway. We've returned for a full-length feature, and it's time again to get back to work in the 2026 playoffs. On the pole, your regular season champion winner and the most dominant driver this season, Ethan Lane. You see him right here in the 84. Lane has decided not to take a lap during the course of this session. He has kept himself pretty much on pit road the entirety of the time, not opting to go for even one circuit. Some drivers have decided an opposite strategy is in order. Cody Smith right now is on pit road, but he took a lap. On the track right now, Zach Schrintenel. He's not playoff eligible, but he goes up directly against some of the best of them tonight, as he's close in qualifying to Daytona winner Alex Kim. Kim, although a great part-time showing in 2025 and spurred on by the confidence of that opening win, has not yet been able to reach and retain the heights of those great early opportunities. However, he has more than made his way into the playoff schedule this year, and he's one of the 16 seeded to go for it big time. Qualifying, practice, and final warm-ups have concluded. This is it. Ahead of us now, 183 laps from one of the more extensive circuits on the stock car racing schedule. More than a mile in length, but unlike any other in design, it's time again for the Lady in Black. $243 miles is the expectation for today's racing festivities. Track conditions favorable to the field? Well, let's talk about that, because in some ways they absolutely are, in other ways not so much. Track circumstance involves, of course, that weather. The temperature is 99 degrees Fahrenheit on the rubber right now, but it's mostly cloudy skies at about 85 degrees outside of the pavement. Very likely, we will see a majority of this race, if not all of it, run under daylight conditions, so it's not going to be a matter of seeing a sunset or the nighttime circuit. Instead, it'll be basically run entirely in the daylight if the clouds poke out of the way for just a little bit. Event rules and considerations to keep in mind: 5 tire sets compared to the regular 4, which means there are 4 extra sets on pit road relative to what drivers start with. As always, no fast repairs. What you start with is what you get, and that's the way it's been all season long. And now more than ever, it matters to execute. 183 laps, that's the end goal. No limit on the fuel cell. The iRacing official pace car will move up and out, and it'll be time again to go green. Ethan Lane is the odds-on championship favorite, and you might have noticed the absence of one name that has been permeating the stories all season long: the 8-time winner in James Thurston. The scoop on this kid is, while he has had a fantastic season, He's also had a heavily abbreviated season, and as a result, he is not championship eligible by default. He did not make the minimum start requirement of 17, 2 races short, and as such, he will be starting at the back of the field, just looking to climb his way up. He's not looking for a title, but he is, of course, looking to go toe-to-toe with Lane on wins. And what a season it could have been, perhaps, if Thurston had arrived earlier than he did. But even still, he's out for a victory tonight. For Nick Tarbuck and the 14 other drivers behind your regular season champ Ethan Lane, this is the turning point and a chance to make a season and a playoff run unlike any other. For Ethan Lane, it's the status quo or bust. Welcome back to the Integrity Racing League playoffs for 2026. We kick it off at Darlington and we're underway for 183 laps with stakes higher than ever before. Out of the opening corners, and as a matter of fact, out of the opening lap so quickly, Ethan Lane will get away with that lead he had by virtue of his track position. Not too much a shock. He has that advantageous position. It is very, very difficult to lose it off the jump here in Darlington. Qualifying is basically the end-all, be-all at Darlington for the early run. Now, you can absolutely get it shuffled up, and we've seen that before. Brad Patton is cut up just a little bit. He's made some good time to get himself up into the podium, but otherwise, these early laps are largely decided by what happened before on the racetrack rather than what's happening now. Jacob Fife in a bit of a bind as he tries to get into this freight train. Zach Trentino slips up. That's going to give him the opening. Darlington is known as a one-groove racetrack. Basically, you are along for the ride if you're in this tunnel and you're rolling and you're going on. And if you can't get in this main outer embankment, then you are going to lose an extensive amount of position immediately. In essence, it's one or the other. You do it the right way or you don't do it at all. Not a lot of racetracks are really like that. We talk perhaps in jest about Texas and all the tracks, the intermediate circuits that have become so inside dominant, especially in the real world, maybe a little bit less in iRacing. But Darlington was really built to suit one racing lane. And at one point, it wasn't even the outside lane. The outside was never meant for racing. It was the circumvention of a track fencing. Rather than having drivers deal with the catch fence immediately, the Darlington outer bank was used as safety for the inside's racing line, which is why down the back straightaway and down the front, really all through the corners, you see so much quote-unquote racing room. But to go down there any lower than the highest embankment is self-sabotage, to put it bluntly. All the racing drivers in this field now, with their seasons of experience, they know that. Brad Patton right now still running a comfortable third. Not a lot is going on to the circuit. It's a calm and collected start for the most part, and the playoff drivers are 9 for 10 as it stands. The only driver outside the playoffs in the top 10 is Ryan Potter. He is being hunted down as we speak by Ryan Bean. Robert Richardson with a nice pass there on Trentino. It looks like the Trentino car having a little bit of trouble. Meanwhile, focus on this matchup. Ryan Bean has fallen behind. Jacob Fife up next. But it looks like Bean now getting by Ryan Potter pretty well. Trentino with some struggles pretty clearly. Robert Richardson was able to get by for a pass. And now the 51 to Tom Wetmore coming way low on the number 5. And it's going to be Roadhouse Racing looking for some moves. These guys were not able to get qualifying laps in, So it's toe-to-toe coming out of turn 4. Richardson with a bang. Once, twice, 3 times. 3 wide. Blake Cannon goes low, but lets his teammate have a little bit more room. Wetmore and Cannon are a dangerous combo at Darlington. We saw it early in last year. Darlington was a beginning of the season event, perhaps a little more surprising than it was in 2025. Last time we had the Next Gens. And running through the memories, these guys were able to get some fantastic runs up at the head of the field. They were not, unfortunately, able to get the job done in terms of collecting a race victory. They led a lot of laps, and particularly the teammate element of this race came out in a way we'd almost never seen before, at least here in FTN. Wetmore was able to do a lot of the early digging, as he is right now, and Blake Cannon was able to take on a much more intense position in terms of pushing through and gaining spots and being more aggressive later in the race. That was the sort of thing that was perhaps more shocking, that we saw teamwork becoming a big deal at Darlington. Last week at Talladega, it was a huge deal, especially for one Eric McFarland, who, it's unfortunate for all the great racing he had. You'll notice he is not one of those playoff badged drivers with the integrity blue on his windshield or on the timing ticker today. For McFarland, it came down to just a few points, and he really did all he could do. He was up there in the top 10 with less than 5 to go. The final caution comes out, and the assumption was that all drivers would have a chance to race again. Well, unfortunately, the yellow flag was for the final time in the race. No overtime attempts allowed. And with that being said, McFarland was too far behind on Brad Patton in that moment as the yellow flag came out for there to be any other opportunity. While Don Stevenson voluntarily dropped out of the playoff picture, David Davis also locked himself in. And for McFarland, after perhaps the best race of his season, he is once again going to be hitting the drawing board for 2027. As it appears once more, he's got some work to do to make it to the playoffs. His teammates, we talked about him up ahead, they're trying to get in the top 10 right now. They would have to knock on the door of one Ryan Bean if they were to do that, but they're still quite a few positions away from that. James Thurston is up in the top 15. Thurston chose not to qualify tonight. A decision that is a little bit surprising, but the last time James did this, he actually won the race. This was a back and forth between he, Blake Cannon, and Ethan Lane about going down a pit road to start the race without a pit stall. Thurston, he found himself at Richmond choosing not to do that. He went and qualified, got a pit stall, lost that race to Lane, and he was deeply dissatisfied with that performance. He ended up deciding not to qualify the next week in Iowa, and that gave way to a late race dominant victory. And he was able to go 1 for 2 of the short tracks. Ethan Lane was able to go 1 for 2 of the short tracks as well. And then Thurston went for back-to-back wins off that momentum. So maybe looking to channel a little bit more of that as he missed an opportunity for a 9th win last week at Talladega. And for the first time all season long, Lane had missed a race that Thurston was in. So it was a unique chance to not go against him. And by and large, James has been, if not the second best, the best driver in this season. Really just goes to show how good he's been in his part-time running. He got up to 4th in the regular season points. He's been demoted back down to 17th, of course, on the premise of him not being eligible for the playoffs. But he has been one of the best drivers this year, even with that in mind. $17 out of 183. Down the front straightaway. Ethan Lane, it's all his. Tarbuck remains highlining it here, as everyone does. The top 3 drivers have gotten a very, very isolated look at the racetrack right now. Perhaps more isolated than even we expected. These early laps have come and gone for them, and it begins the discussion of strategy. So let's talk about it right here as the drivers up in front go down the front straight. Riding on board with Nick Tarbug, he's got a little bit of the toe, but not too much draft to consider. And all things estimated, he's got about 75 laps total that he can work with on this run. Lap 75 would be the first big opportunity for drivers to go down a pit road, but you might see some guys going in as early as lap number 60, lap 61, making it a two-stop race with exact numbers. Early pit stops may be preferential if you want to strategize for a late or long run, but if you want to go longer and go for the overcut, there's about 15 opportunities. 15 extra laps to do so. Ethan Lane is remarkably comfortable. James Thurston is now a playoff spoiler. He got by Alex Kim. And just like that, it's going to be Thurston in P10. Not much a surprise that James has gotten into this top 10, but of course it's been a hard fight for him. And now he's in a little bit of a different situation than he's been in all season long. He is racing for a different purpose. Same drivers, but a much different look up in front. Playoff guys marked in front of him all the way. Then, of course, there's Thurston. James right now comes down the back straightaway at near warp speed. He's one of the fastest guys on the track. 7.2 seconds back as it stands. Cody Smith getting caught up to by Thurston. We'll take a look on board for the pass. Little bit of a wobble for the 3 car. And just a slide out of the way as Thurston makes the move. You'll see Cody Smith is in that rearview mirror. "23 laps in out of 183, and a slight bobble for our man in the Power Smash Infinity Speed, Camry." Jay Snell in the chat room, thank you for stopping by right now. Number 33, Eric McFarland, runs 20th place. You'll find him here leading a pack of drivers chasing after Trevor Trago and company. Been a pretty good race overall in terms of the cleanliness of the circuit. And not too much a shock that that's the case early on, at least in terms of drivers not wrecking each other, but the spaced out nature, again, a little bit more of a surprise to see such little action going back and forth. Nick Ward and Sam Nieto are getting a little closer. This is where we start talking about those playoff positions and drivers going point for point with one another. Sam Nieto came in as the 5th seed. Nicholas Ward was slotted back in 7th. So for Ward to be a little bit further ahead on Nieto, that's a good thing for the 97 team, not a good thing for the 2 team. You do not want to be outclassed by a driver who is below you in points currently. Now, with the playoff system being rehauled, it is no longer a matter of multiple rounds and consistent eliminations, but instead, it's more so about doing things correctly each and every race and maintaining the opportunities, of course, of getting good finishes, even if it doesn't mean lighting up the world every week. And, of course, don't wreck. John DeBarro to the inside. He's looking low, and he's got a good look right now on Nicholas Ward. Tries to ease up on a nudge. Just can't get there for the pass. Minuscule contact is probably what you're going to see for drivers to try to make some moves. Very difficult with the minimal racing groove these guys have, which means bumping won't be too uncommon. DeBarro is the 3rd seed coming into the night, so while your 1 and 2 seeds are running 1st and 2nd, your 3rd place driver is the 16th seed in Brad Patton. He has completely flipped the script. 2 weeks ago, he was running 17th in the championship and was trending down. And now, it looks like without a doubt, he's one of the fastest drivers on the racetrack. And he keeps himself in a good spot tonight. He'll have a rapid ascent up the playoff ladder. Now, he would need races like this basically from here to the end of the season to have a real shot at the championship. But that isn't impossible. Patton, taking a more unorthodox approach to the regular season on a yearly basis, decides not to qualify for most every race. Unless, of course, it's important. And for a few times, Patton does get back up there in front. But with 2 wins last season, the expectation is that Brad's got the stuff to do it again. Running 3rd early on as a 16 seed is some pretty optimistic performance. Of course, James Thurston, the only driver spoiling this run, he's up there in 8th. He's looking after Nolan Potter. Nolan Potter, bar Thurston, is the highest performing of the rookies right now. With that critical 1 victory he got at Dover, going head-to-head with Ethan Lane. Add to that a solid season, and Potter finds himself as a 12th seed coming in. But again, a pass and a little bit of contact right ahead. One driver losing it big, and we're going to try to keep our eyes peeled on what that smoke was. It might have just been Brad Patton. And yeah, Patton is not looking good. He's on the inside and way low, and he's got left front damage. Brad Patton with issues. Your 16th seed from 3rd is rejoining the track. Watch this. Keeping up with Brad Patton as it happened. Here's a replay. Now the 9 car was settled in, and it just looks like loose off exit. Drives it down, puts a real hard effort in saving it, but crams the front end. And Brad, I think that night is going to be completely different now as he comes down to pit road for emergency repairs. Brad Patton, the 16 seed from 3rd, is down and in. One lap down, 4 tires and fuel, and hopefully some repairs, but that's going to be big difficulties. Ethan Lane, Nick Tarbuck, and now Sam Nieto are 1, 2, 3. As Patton's golden opportunity is all of a sudden all but gone. We'll see whether or not Patton can get back up there on the lead lap, but it's going to take some miracles, and realistically, it's going to take some cautions. Thurston upstairs. Nolan Potter with a bit of a wiggle. And the 34, loose out of 2 in a similar vein to what we saw just prior as the Cody Smith car, is trying desperately to get up there. Alex Kim now looking to get into the single-digit places. Thurston runs 5th. For Kim to stay in the top 10, he's going to need this opportunity. And of course, he'll need his pass. He takes both of which Nate Campbell continues to watch. Jacob Fife slices on the inside. This entire bubble from 10th down to 12th. And then 15th, Robert Richardson, all playoff guys. Now Blake Cannon is trying to break in. Cannon looking for it. He'll get the spot now on the 45 and 8 Campbell. Number 36 to Jacob Fife. All on the bumper of Cody Smith here. Cannon is going to be one of those playoff spoilers. Not a lot of those drivers in the top 10, top 15 conversation of your top 15. Only 3 drivers are not playoff eligible. Tom Wetmore in 14th. Jacob Fife is now ahead of another. Blake Cannon in 12th. And then there's James Thurston in 5th. Otherwise, it is all the blue blood drivers who quite literally are marked in blue tonight. The lowest on the circuit is Brad Patton. Otherwise, it is David Davis. Davis right now finds himself 22nd as he's been having some struggles with the car. He's still on the lead lap here, but pretty far back relative to perhaps what you would expect to see from a driver of course, not only his caliber, but in his circumstance. Davis does have a lot of those intermediate races coming up, and we've seen better runs out of him there. That's the good thing about the rest of this schedule. It is a lot of familiar tracks. You got Las Vegas, you have Kentucky, Auto Club, and Homestead, all big ovals that are more than a mile in length. The only odd circuits from here besides that would be Gateway on September 1st, next week, and Martinsville, which would be October 6th, the penultimate race of the season. Davis also has a bit of right side damage. That's something important to acknowledge. So that's also hampering his performance just a little bit. Cody Smith, Blake Cannon, both watching Jacob Fife still. Fife is in 11th now. And according to timing and scoring, he's moved up to 10th. That's, of course, due to the pit stop we saw from the number 9 team in Patton. Alex Kim runs 9th. Nolan Potter 8th, but that could change. Potter really loose and down to the inside. Potter rubbed the wall, got shaky, loose, and now loses multiple placements as here comes Blake Cannon. Cannon surges to the inside for 10th and for 9th. It's a buy one, get one free deal coming out of turn 4. And a big, big surge for Blake Cannon. Just like that, Blake Cannon holds his own and makes multiple spots up. One driver on pit road who's just gone down for his stop, and an early one, is Sean Kalis. We'll keep our eyes on the Kalis car right here as he's coming out. Looks like he's also got a little bit of damage, 1 lap down, so maybe Sean with some trouble. Here's a look back on the last time around for Sean. Almost identical to Brad Patton. I would say that's basically the same situation. The only difference, just a little bit earlier in the corner he came down, but the same level of damage and the same diagnosis. Down to pit road and quick for Sean Kalis. He will be getting some extensive damage repairs to continue on. Ethan Lane is coming up on a lapper with Eli Cars. Let's take a look on board for this pass. Hearing a lot of feathering on the throttle there. The level of power given, not too extensive. Lane's done not only a great job at managing the power and the fuel he's putting in, but also, of course, managing his gap. He will quickly get by. And Lane again holds fort. He's coming up on the first wave of lap drivers. So with Eli Cars out of the way, the next one would then and there be this bundle. We got Josh Gallagher, David Davis, Eric McFarland and company. Gallagher's now about 25 seconds back, running in P23. Looks like Cardules, Potter, Patton, all off the racetrack. And those are the only drivers so far to have retired, although more have gone off the lead lap. 47 out of 183 laps. Ethan Lane is now 5+ seconds up on the next closest driver. James Thurston up to P4 is now, give or take, within a second of Sam Nieto. Those two have not had to deal with each other all throughout the campaign. Throughout this race anyway. Been a pretty big distance between them. Yellow flags out for the first caution of the night. And an incident will bring us back down to pace speeds. David Davis, perhaps, as you see him limping off. Here's a look at what happened with Davis. And your defending race winner may have just had some issues here. First caution of the day. Here's a look with number 13. And it started way ahead of him. It started with the playoff driver of Cody Smith. Smith now one lap down and caught in traffic. Here's a look back. There's Davis again, but this is a very long-running incident. Cody Smith, watch with him here. He skates down the inside loose and comes up the track. And he's there, parked. And Kevin Matz, for some reason or another, just cannot avoid him. David Davis slides. Aaron Eads hits him. And Josh Gallagher also gets a piece of very long-running wreck. Here again is Cody Smith going up on board with Kevin Matz. And he ends up locked up on the wall. And the caution is out. Yellow again. One lap down for Kevin Matz, but perhaps most importantly for the playoff considerations, one lap down for Cody Smith as he will swiftly head to pit road. And leaders, including Ethan Lane, are likely to come up next. Lap 50 of 183, and the caution is out. At the line, it is Lane, Tarbuck, Sam Nieto, 1, 2, 3 as they roll. One green this time by. It'll be Lane, Tarbuck, and now running up in that third position, Sam Nieto. Thurston on the outside, still P4. Majority of the field decided to go down a pit road this time by. One driver who didn't is the 70 of Kent Wetherell. Kent going to get his lap back as a result. He and Josh Gallagher alike back with the leaders, and they got what they needed. Kevin Matz is one lap down. Aaron Eads, more of the same. Cody Smith and Eli Carr's multiple laps apiece. It'll be Lane and Tarbuck, your top two, as we say hello again. First restart tonight after an extensive opening stretch. The checkered flag still far in the distance, but not at all a bad start for the field as we get going once more. First restart of the night. Green flags out. It's all Lane and Tarbuck into 1 and 2. James Thurston has gone from 23rd tonight up to 2nd. And has finally made his way up into the winning conversation. Oh, Jacob Fife! Rex, so does Tom Wetmore, Zach Trentino, Robert Richardson. The yellow flag's out. Watch this. Another big caution. Slides Fife is drifting as hard as he can. He ends up going around with minimal sideways contact with Tom Wetmore. Perhaps Wetmore even gets worse damage as we take a ride on board with him. He loses it, gets T-boned, comes up the track, hits the wall, gets contact from Fife, and gets really smushed. TubeTech's Chevrolet coming involved with the Pro Powder and Paint machine, and some harsh contact among the two of them for the yellow flag once again. Field drops to pit road. Well, some at least. David Davis decides to go in for additional service as he's 2 laps down. Talk about a hammering for Tom Wetmore. Jacob Fife tried his hardest. Get back in it. Pounding damage. Very little else could be done. The field is paused again. Leader is Ethan Lane. Second is James Thurston. That's the way they run. At the end of 54 laps, still a long way to go. And for the first time tonight, cautions. Now, for the first time tonight, back-to-back cautions. Coming to one of green this time around. Top 10 now to playoff spoilers. Blake Cannon in the 44 and 8th. Nick Tarbuck in, of course, number 4, P3, just behind the other spoiler. Restart at lap number 56. Robert Richardson, through the turmoil, was able to get himself into 11th. After getting slightly involved in the previous incident, this time he escapes the madness. And everyone else, Jacob Fife, one of those guys trying to scurry up right now. You see about half the field with the lead grouping. A lot less than the amount that's really going to come to the green in just a few moments' time. Now here goes nothing. It's your second restart of the day. Back to business once more. Ethan Lane and James Thurston this time on the front row. Green flags out. Thurston not able to get there. Ethan Lane able to pull ahead and get a slight lead in the next set of corners. Single file all the way around. James Thurston has gotten himself to the inside, though. Now looking for a side-by-side maneuver. Thurston's taking it as far down in that racing groove as he can. Just a little bit loose off the corner. Can't quite make it there. .58 laps in out of 183. The top 10 simmers down again. Nate Campbell is the first driver out of this big group. It looks like Bobby Keith in 11th is holding the fort and keeping up with the leading guys, so 11 drivers have broken away. Zach Schrenthal down to the inside. Falls back 2 places there. Jacob Fife now toe-to-toe. Trentino's got a little bit of damage. Now it looks like that number 20 team is going to be banking on some incidents and cautions around for any chance. Zach is not a championship contender, but got a good restart position, so to fall back any further would be pretty detrimental for him. He currently runs in the 16th place as Jacob Fife is coming down the back straightaway once again and has little difficulty holding down the fort in that placement. This is the highest spot, however, that Eric McFarland has run. Eric now up to 14th and looking for another top 15 finish on back-to-back nights. Jacob's trying to go at it, just can't find the room just yet. Lap 60 out of 183, the intersection between laps 91 and 92. That's the time we'll see the field get to work for the halfway point. Stage points will be awarded. James Thurston still all over Ethan Lane here. Take a look, fourth gear, he'll pull it up to fifth. So a little bit of gear changing as the yellow flag's out. Caution for the third time tonight. The field is brought down again, and we'll see what caused it here. Looks like Bobby Keith and company with a little bit of damage. Eric McFarland looks banged up now. What happened to the 33 car? Well, we'll wait and see. Here's a look. Eric loose all the way up to the track, and he quickly overcorrects right up there to Jacob Fife. A fast yellow flag for a very quick put-together incident. Watch this, just a little bit loose. And up in the wall, Jacob Fife and Eric McFarland go. Caution flies. 63 laps in out of 183. And Ethan Lane, still your race leader. He's been able to hold off on James Thurston with little difficulty in that matter all throughout. Trentino, Richardson, Matz, Kim, Fife, McFarland all come down to pit road, as does Cody Smith. Smith, he's been there for a while now, 13 laps down. But nonetheless, service is going to be extensive for some, a little bit just to top off for others. David Davis choosing to stay on the circuit here. He will opt to get a lap back. Ethan Lane has led practically every lap tonight. A dominant start. James Thurston is facing his first crisis, so to speak, crisis. I don't know if it's a crisis, but he's facing his first incredible difficulty in terms of passing one driver. He's been able to get through practically everyone without any difficulty. Number 84 of Lane, however, of course, much different case. The 10-time winner, the 8-time winner, now going toe-to-toe. Eli Cars looks like heading further back in the field. David Davis getting a lap back. He is now only one down. That's good news for him. In terms of the playoffs, he is ahead of Cody Smith and Brad Patton on the track tonight. And not too far back, position-wise, on drivers like Robert Richardson and Jacob Fife. Night's not over for a David Davis, even if it has been remarkably difficult. Here we go again, double filing all the way back. Ethan Lane, James Thurston kick it off for another restart. It's their fourth of the night. And again, Lane is convincingly out and ahead. Lane, Thurston, Nick Tarbuck. 1, 2, 3. Right now, Tarbuck a little bit further back, but still keeping Sam Nieto at bay as it's double file again. This time for the race lead. Thurston dives low into one, but doesn't have what it takes to pass again. Lap number 66 out of 183. Past the third way mark. Most drivers with one pit stop. Blake Cannon has gotten himself into 7th place, and he was very fast last time we were in Darlington. No surprise that he's looking to get another uptick and go after Nicholas Ward. He hasn't yet made any aggressive maneuver on him. But the distance is closed, and I wouldn't be too shocked as he gets a good look up high. John DeBarro also one to look after. DeBarro is going to be first in dealing with Cannon. That time by, Blake backed it up through turn 4, trying to get a better run through the front straight. A little bit of grazing the wall for both drivers. No difficulty, coming through cleanly. Yellow flag's been sporadic, some small incidents with drivers getting loose off the corners, but otherwise it has been a mostly clean race. David Davis, 20th, is the final driver, or rather the first driver off the lead lap. Kevin Matson, 19th, is the final driver on the lead lap. 69 out of 183. Ethan Lane, James Thurston are conjoined with each other practically. And there really hasn't been much of a difference since Thurston's been up here. He's been right on the back bumper. Now, can Thurston do it? I'm wondering whether or not the number 3's got the opportunity to take it. He's gone down on the inside of the front straightaway multiple times, but he has not yet dealt with clean air. And that's the difficult thing. When you have dirty air and you've been it your whole time, Ethan Lane has been able to navigate through the field with an advantage that no other driver has even experienced. Thurston doesn't know how to manage the clean air at Darlington the same way Lane has tonight, simply off the basis of that track position. Lane's had that edge. James Thurston, not quite. And the difficulty, as minuscule as it is, well, it means an awful lot right now as drivers are going at each other. Coming up on one lapper, well, that's going to be Kevin Matz. Matz is still on the lead lap right now, but only just, and we'll have less than 20 on the lead lap as soon as he gets knocked off. Randy Fiash, the 55, with a little bit of scuffing as well. He would be the next up with difficulty. It just looks like Kevin Matz in particular with some front end damage compounded, running way off the lead pace. Here's a ride on board. Last time by for Matz was a 31.677 lap. For Ethan Lane, it was a 30.749. He's about a second a lap faster. And that difference has only grown greater and greater as the laps have gone on. This is Thurston's biggest opportunity because for the first time in this battle, Lane now will have to deal with dirty air instead. Thurston upstairs gets a little piece of the wall, nothing major. He'll continue on. Nick Tarbuck watching from afar. He'll be next up, and Kevin Matz bows out, gets completely out of the way of the leaders. And a very respectful move from the driver of the number 50. Choosing not at all to get involved in any further complications and making his way out almost automatically from any other problems with the leaders, which we've seen again. Those can be race changing. Matt's out. The next driver would be Randy Fiash to catch up to, and he's still a half track away. Matt's right now is with Alex Kim. Kim all of a sudden hailing and not very far ahead of a David Davis machine that's one lap down. In fact, you look at Davis, and right now on pace, David is faster than Alex Kim. So one more caution in any way, shape, or form, and Alex Kim could be knocked down a peg once again. Davis just needs that extra caution, which is a major hypothetical. No guarantee it's going to come through. No guarantee that it's going to happen at all. So, if you are in the position to wait it out like David Davis is, it's going to remarkably cause more patience than anything, or need more patience than anything. Really isn't going to be a one-lap fix. And 77 laps in, there is a long way to go until that point comes to fruition. We'll see how all else goes as we get closer and closer to the checkered flag, but still a long ways out. The battle for the lead, I can't tell you if it has subsided or if it is even come into play. It's been in this awkward stalemate position, and really, it hasn't changed in the least. James Thurston is about as fast as Ethan Lane, but not fast enough to pass. Meanwhile, let's take a look down the field to see what else is going on here. Nate Campbell coming up on Trevor Trago. Trago having a great race for the first time. Of course, Trevor Trago and Brad Patton, the teammates, have both qualified for the playoffs. This is something that we have not seen out of Trago in his Integrity Racing League career. However, it has been a well-awaited season for the 37, finally breaking out into the driver we've seen in little bursts. Seen some good runs out of him in 2023, 2024. And while he was absent for the entirety of last year, his return has proven remarkably impressive. And right now, he's just behind on Ryan Bean. Bean has been quiet this season, but very firmly got himself up into the playoffs. And as a matter of fact, here are the playoff pictures as they run. Well, you'll see the drivers who got eliminated and knocked out. Right now, it is a 16-driver field that goes all the way back to 16th and Brad Patton. Championship standings are on a point-to-point basis with bonus points allotted. Ethan Lane having the most of which. Ryan Bean came in the 6th seed, and you can see 7th down to 16 is a spread of 9 points. 1st to 7th is a spread of 31 points. The top 6 guys are really well put together with more than 10 bonus points. Ward and the guys on back have a little bit more work to do. Nicholas Ward could make some big waves with the run he's having tonight, but of course, what can be done when Ethan Lane is already leading and is way ahead of everyone else? No guarantee that it's going to be a walkway title win, but if Ethan Lane sets it off with momentum again, there's no telling what's going to stop him. The record for wins in a season, 14, set by Lane 2 years ago. He is still in the realm of possibility to beat his own record. It would take probably the best performance of his season. It would take the numbers he was pulling out from February to April and the victory percentage he had then to win the championship and reset and break his own record. After this race, there are 6 opportunities for victory. Now, with those 6 opportunities, Lane would have to win 3 more times. The Legacy Motor Club car has been far and beyond anyone else's expectations, but let's talk a little bit more about another battle going on. Blake Cannon is coming up there on Nicholas Ward. John DeBarro and Ryan Bean in a similar battle. The 44 car barreling down that back straight and looking to get into the inside and deep. Ward way lower, but not low enough. Trying to get down to that middle groove. Cannon got to the bottom, and for Blake, it's P5. John DeBarro and Ryan Bean very close. Bean has not been able to make a pass or really put an aggressive move down with less than 100 laps remaining. One in the wall, Alex Kim. Kim, pulverized and 1 lap down, is with big trouble and is going to swerve down to the inside. What just happened? Alex Kim with what could be race-ending complications. Already a dismal day for the team. And it looks like all of a sudden, huge problems. Oh, contact with Ethan Lane. Off the side of your leader and shot up. Now I'm wondering, what does that look like from overhead? One more look with Alex Kim as we try to take a wide angle look. Oh, yep. Lane getting into the 73. And your leader moving him out the way. I'm sure not intentionally, but what a hard lick that was. No yellow as Kim immediately gets in the wall there, but for Alex, that is extensive damage and another spot loss. That's going to be a big saving grace for David Davis. Horrible news, of course, for that 73 team that was looking to bring it in with great momentum tonight. And, of course, start the race off well. Championship chase really only allows you one bad race, so to wreck early or even by the halfway would be difficult. Difficult to come back from at the very least. Halfway down, halfway to go in just a lap and a half time. James Thurston has now moved back a second. It just doesn't look like he's got the stuff to pass or lead tonight. He's going to be needing to make some different strategy calls if that's going to be the case. Blake Cannon gets by the lapper and Fiash. Randy Fiash going to be passed extensively. The John DeBarro Ryan Bean saga continues. And you could argue that it's been a whole lot of nothing so far between these guys. And your argument holds up pretty well so far. But I will tell you this much. John DeBarro is still up and ahead by a minuscule margin. Not enough to be a real firm position. Nolan Potter right ahead of another fight that is slowly dissipated. The lappers on lappers. Eric McFarland right now, not with the leading bunch on the lead lap. He's just behind Randy Fiash. They might pass each other. That's just a quick update on the lapper circumstance. As for the leaders, not much else has changed. Nate Campbell, one of the Integrity Racing League's Ignite rookies last year, has pointed his way back into a playoff situation. And the 45 is having a solid opening night, running in 9th place. Fitting. as he is the 10th seed, so running right around the expectations, giving us championship placement. Nothing really out of the ordinary, nothing particularly surprising or outstanding, so to speak. But it also means that for him, he might have to turn up the heat a little bit if he wants to get a little bit more out of this race. And for Campbell, well, it just doesn't look like he's been able to do that. Single file all the way down. Majority of battles have been settled. Ryan Bean now's got to face that pressure, though. I cannot believe we've seen no moves out of them. I mean, this is the closest it's been. Maybe 5 car lengths among these 3 drivers from end to end. Ryan Bean's got a shot there. Tabarro with a weak entry into 2. Weak enough that he could put a move down. He doesn't decide to. Ryan Bean maintains placement and does so adequately. Oh, he's going to fall and falter. Just a little bit of a wiggle. Nate Campbell gets the spot. Blake Cannon now sees John DeBarro. How about the 61? DeBarro, the rookie, puts pressure. Nate Campbell does as well. And Blake Cannon moved out of the way with trouble as he works his way back on the racetrack. In case you missed it, here's a look at what happened with Cannon. It was a contact, a minor nudge anyway there with Campbell. And he got worked over on those 2 positions and had to scramble himself back up. 86 laps to go, and for the first time tonight, Blake Cannon appears feeble on the circuit. And it looks like he's going to be coming down to the inside line again, trying to settle himself out. He's in 11th now. Even Nolan Potter has gotten by him. There's Blake Cannon, of course, far out of the frame. Nolan Potter and Trevor Tragar ahead. John DeBarro is now in 6th. Nate Campbell 7th. Ryan Bean 8th. Ryan, in the middle of the new 3-car battle. It is surprising to me, at the very least, and Nate Campbell was able to shake off that final contact with Cannon. I wasn't sure what that was about, but it looks like a pretty easy walkaway for the 45 crew. This Toyota Camry looks upstairs. DeBarro not able to give anything away now. This is the highest he's worked himself up on this run. A lot of effort for the DeBarro crew, the 3rd seed in points. He might slip out of that title tonight just because he's running behind Nieto and running behind Ward. But it's going to keep him top 5 in the championship if, of course, he finishes where he is right now. Nate Campbell with a good run. To the inside, he does not decide to go. Nate Campbell can't quite get there on DeBarro again. The 2nd attempt he's made off this end of the corner. And coming out of turn 2 consistently, he gets the run but does not have the pace. Rather surprised anyway, took that 3rd attempt. Campbell finally makes it through. Now the Darlington Raceway it's a one-groove racetrack. We have seen that time and time again. And of course, it's been the staple of this circuit's existence for decades, but there is a little bit of a half groove. Whether you call that extra half groove at the bottom or at the top, You can maximize your entries or exits depending on where you decide to go. For John Navarro right there, you saw him go all the way to the bottom to try to pull it more to the top later. Most drivers do that, but you also have the choice of using the top outer groove and then working your way down. That extra half a groove is a difference maker. Depending on where, of course, you want to go. Oh, a little bit of a shot to the inside, and that's going to be Trevor Trago. Way low, and he saves himself. But man, oh man, what was that? Here's a look again. Trago out of 4, much like his teammate. This time able to keep it off the wall, but the same issue we saw with both K-List and Brad Patton. How about that save, though, from Trago? He's going to lose a little bit of time, and he's going to fall back, and he gets ahead of Ryan Bean, who wrecks! So does Nicholas Ward, and the caution's out. 2 playoff drivers involved with each other. Wow. With championship implications. Ward and Bean were side by side. Ward comes up for a block and gets turned. Not clear. And the yellow will fly. Watch this. From aboard Bean's perspective, Ward was there, came up, and the yellow fly. Slow motion for the spin. Trevor Trago gets away. Perhaps he's one of the luckier drivers. His slide was all it took to get out of a 2-car wreck. Ryan Bean and Nicholas Ward, championship contenders. And with 77 laps to go, this could be the very last time drivers go to pit road. They can go the rest of the way from here if they save some fuel. Four tires and fuel. Final time tonight if we don't see any other yellows, but that's no guarantee. James Thurston trying to pull it at the line. He'll go for third. Ethan Lane's going to be the first driver out. It'll be then Nick Tarbuck with Sam Nieto following James Thurston. Way high out of this run is Eli Carr is one of the lappers. He'll get a lap back. But it's Nate Campbell, John Navarro, Trevor Trago, Nolan Potter, Blake Cannon, and 10th. Your last place qualifier, Kent Wetherell, scored his 10th, as it appears he did not go down to pit road. Kent's going to go down to pit road this time by, because he chose to go around. He'll make his way in. Kent Wetherell now the only driver on pit road. Ironically, you saw him up there in front. He'll give away that 10th spot, and Ryan Bean, despite the incident, is still in a clean enough circumstance to stay in the top 10. Double file all the way down for the lead lappers, but a big group that's away from us. There's Zach Schrintenel. There's Nicholas Ward, one down. The iRacing pace car lights are still not extended, even though we still got a lot of drivers running around trying to get back up to their placement. Coming to green this time by. Everyone else looping back up to place. and Ethan Lane will bring them back up to speed. Green flags out. Nick Tarbuck a little bit loose, but it's 1 and 2. Thurston and Lane on the inside line once again. 75 laps to go and counting down. It's time for the home stretch. Those might have been your final pit stops of the day. Ethan Lane way far out. Trevor Trago now caught up in the single file at the front of the field. Here comes Potter. Nolan's got it to the inside, and he's going to slide himself right ahead of Trevor Trago. That's a strong move. 9 of your 10. Or rather, now 8 of your 10 are playoff drivers in front. Blake Cannon sneaks into the top 10. And Nolan Potter with a very, very spur-of-the-moment move. Perhaps the best display we've seen to this point. For the drivers showing that playoff grit, Potter on Trago there. "72 laps, make it 71. Top 10 drivers, all with one another tonight. Most of which have been playoff guys. I mean, Cannon and Thurston have remained basically the lone exceptions. Everyone else has done a fantastic job of maintaining that expectation of pushing hard, remarkably hard, to stay up there in front. Those playoff drivers marked in blue have stayed high in position. Intensity has gotten higher and higher. Ethan Lane has still risen to the occasion, and I know James Thurston wants his way very bad right now. He is still all over the back end of that 84. James Thurston, just a few hundredths of a second off. I can't imagine there's much he can do, though, except try to find a mistake out of lane, which he has not made, but Thurston again gets in the wall. He'll try to power off a turn 4 to combat that, but I don't know what else that's going to do. "69 laps remaining, top 2 drivers, the class of the field, and by far. Take a look a little further back. Ryan Bean is coming up on a heated battle. Blake Cannon and Trevor Trago. Trago right now is also coming up on another, and as you can see there, Bean falls back. But watch on board with Trago. He'll be following Nolan Potter still. Nolan has been one of the strongest drivers all throughout this race in terms of making moves again and again and again that have gotten him up and up. Now, with just a few laps remaining, can he get himself into the top 5? That's a question that both he and John DeBarro might have to ask, because they're both chasing after Nate Campbell. Campbell is the final driver in the top 5. "66 laps to go. Cannon stays all the way on that back bumper on Trevor Trago here. They're still the closest guys in the top 10 organization. Everyone else has gotten continuously further apart. Quarter of a second the distance between your top 2 drivers. James Thurston has still not been able to make a move The level of aggression stagnant over the course of this run. Next driver, Lapper, Kent Wetherell. We'll see what the number 70 can do here. Kent is still there. Lane swerves high. Thurston didn't have to back off at all. This is the miracle Thurston's been looking for. Does he decide to press the issue? Doesn't have the speed to do it. Now, had that shaken a little bit more off of Ethan Lane, maybe Thurston would have had a chance to take the clean air. Just couldn't quite make it happen. .64 laps remaining. Nick Tarbuck is the only other driver, even within the eye shot, really, of this group, up and in front. Nicholas Ward is back on the lead, or rather, back to the racetrack with the lead lappers, but he is a firm 12 laps down and tucking back in. I mean, if you look down the standings pile, we have multiple drivers in the playoffs outside the top 20. We've got Ward in 21st, Smith 22nd, Kim 24th, and Brad Patton 28th. Nicholas Ward is still ahead of 3 guys, even if his race has gone from great, slowly but surely entering into the disastrous territory. Going to take a long while, of course, for Cody Smith to really settle himself in, as he's got, again, Nicholas Ward right there. Smith is in 22nd. Now actually moves up ahead of Ward, but they're a lap apart. So that position doesn't give him much of anything. 61 laps to go. Ethan Lane comes across once again, and he is still firmly the field's leader. Taking a look here at James Thurston. What can he do with Nick Tarbuck right behind him now? Looks like still not much. A little bit of contact. Take a look back. You got Blake Cannon making some moves, an aggressive one on Nolan Potter. It's side by side now. Potter up in the wall. Trevor Trago able to get a spot on Nolan Potter. Meanwhile, a battle again, but it looks like it won't be much. Here's a look, and we'll take it some 40 seconds back and show you what happened with Nolan Potter here. Take a look one more time. Potter gets in the wall. Trevor Trago's there. He's able to make his move. And Potter gets crunched up there. No contact from another driver, but still tremendous difficulty. Lane at the line, leading by nearly a full second now over the next closest driver. James Thurston has fallen back, and it could even be Nick Tarbuck who gets to him. Saw there a small glimpse of the final driver on your racetrack tonight. Is still going at it, it appears. It is going to be Eric McFarland, puttering and coming down to pit road again. Difficult night for the 33 to start the playoff run. A lot of drivers with subpar performances. It looks like right now, last driver on the lead lap, Zach Schrintenol, is running in 15th. Now again, we've had races where only 5 drivers finish on the lead lap. That's not impossible to have happen, but it's rare. Remarkably rare now at a mile-plus track where we haven't had a lot of substantial wrecks. We've had some small get-togethers, some small misfortunate happenings, yes, but wrecks, at least large quantifiable ones, have been basically avoided tonight. So it's a little bit of a shock to see such complication from everyone. Coming again across the line, Ethan Lane makes it 55 to go. Ryan Bean and Trevor Trago side by side. Here comes Ryan Bean to the inside with a great surge. He'll make a firm pass. Now talk about a move for Bean. That gets him up. And it moves him across Trevor Trago. And that's going to be good enough for, I believe, P7 here. Coming across the line, timing and scoring will show you it is Ryan Bean. 8th as it stands, Blake Cannon has gotten ahead of that fight. Here's a look once more. Don Zabarro blocking hard on the Cannon car now. Take a look on board. Cannon and Zabarro here. Here's what it's like from Blake's perspective. To the inside, Blake Cannon's got to run. This is for 6th, and he'll take it. And that was a great run off the corner. And absolutely no difficulty for the number 44. Blake Cannon has made it through. Ryan Bean, number 28, holding his own. 8th place. Trevor Trago now 9th. Nolan Potter, the last man in the top 10. Minimal difficulty for these drivers here. Looks like if you're in the top 10, you're fully settled in, and really, those are the only big battles going on right now, thanks to the fact that basically everything else has been settled among drivers who are way off the lead lap. And when you're a certain point off the lead lap, not much else you can do. It's the lead lappers, and then it is everyone else in terms of performance, in terms of aggression, in terms of the racing action. Drivers who aren't going at it hardcore are the drivers that really are going to be the ones not to watch. But you've got a whole lot of great drivers up and ahead who have really been doing their thing. There's Nick Tarbuck once again. '84 of Ethan Lane leading now officially by a 2.5. And talk about a great set of runs for Ethan Lane. While he was decidedly absent from Talladega, he chose not to go there. It was instead his final race of the season, the regular season, a big win. So he goes out, wins his 10th regular season race, takes the week off, and all of a sudden, it's Lane again, like he never left, in control, and he's led almost every lap this race. I mean, James Thurston has tried, he's gotten close, and I don't know if it's a matter of the setup allowing for very little clean air acquisition or the dirty air not working well, but James Thurston has simply not been able to make it happen. .47 to go. Ryan Bean, Trevor Trago, Nolan Potter, and Bobby Keith, all of which in this bundle around 10th. How about Bobby Keith, who, while not championship eligible, has had one of his best races of the season. Keith is in 11th, and he's still several seconds up and a place up on Robert Richardson. Richardson isn't too far off that top 10 category if something happens up and ahead. Nolan Potter is the last man in the top 10 now. Bobby Keith is pretty far back on him, so I don't think it's going to come from Bobby Keith. We'll see what happens. 45 laps to go if there is to be any difference now, but with drivers whittling down and an incredibly decreased quantity of lead lap guys, down now to 14. It's a minuscule bundle that even have a chance for the win. And then those on the lead lap, smaller and smaller. 14 drivers, it could be 13 by the next 10 or 15 laps from here. James Thurston 2 seconds back. And more surprisingly than anything, Nick Tarbuck has been able to gain an astounding amount of ground on the number 3. I mean, the short term between these guys is day and night, night and day, however you want to place it. And then the long run has become more almost identical. Nick Tarbuck has been as strong as it gets on this long stretch. And the yellow flags are the only thing that might kill him. We'll see if it ends up going in his favor later on or not. As it stands, it looks like the 4 has got a shot for P2, and that would really solidify his second points effort. A win is what he needs, but second place would be just enough to maybe, just maybe hold on a little while longer. Blake Cannon is in P6, right in the back end of Nate Campbell. Sam Nieto now facing double pressure. It's a 4-5-6 affair. John DeBarro, too far back to really do much of anything. Sam has kept these drivers at bay, and they haven't yet battled him yet, but this looks to be the closest all of them have been all night long. Nate Campbell now with a nice run. Looks a little bit low, gives a signal, but doesn't decide to go for it. Now, if we take a look on board, last time he ran was a 31.012 second lap. He's just above that line of 30-second laps. The tire wear definitely coming in. 40 laps to go. Sam Nieto with another bobble out the corner. Following that darker racing groove, a lot of rubber being laid down over the course of the night. Looks to be high through the middle as the preferential line. The Fighting Irish hangs on for another lap. Look at that, Blake Cannon going low through 3 and 4. Something that we have not seen most drivers do, but that's a clearly different approach through the set of corners. We'll see if he does it again or if that was more intentional than we expected, but Blake Cannon gives us a textbook example of what it's like to do it a little bit differently through 3 and 4. Campbell, low, he's not close enough, I don't think. Not in the least. Driver, the 45. Nate Campbell, still ahead of the 44 car and Cannon. Nick Tarbuck has taken second firmly over James Thurston. The long run speed has carried him well. And he looks to be exactly where he wants to be now. Second place and still moving. No sign of stopping just yet. Campbell watching behind. Blake Cannon now with a better run. But he just doesn't have enough speed off the exit to really do much with it. Watch Nolan Potter here. Trevor Trago. They also are rather close to one another. The difficulty among these drivers right now just happens to be finding space to pass. I mean, we talked about it since the beginning of the race, but we've gone to this track before with the next-gen stock car. It just looks like it's a package brought upon this year, really giving these drivers a hard time. Double file racing has been almost impossible to incur. It really does depend. At times, we've seen races dominated by only one driver. Tonight has been an example of which, although some, like Thurston, have been close. And other nights, we've seen Darlington give way to a double-digit quantity of drivers going at it. Nate Campbell with a good run. This could be enough to make a pass at the line. Campbell is still behind, but Blake Cannon's got to look a little bit harder. Upstairs, Nate Campbell gets close, but can't quite finish the job. Blake Cannon able to shut him out again. That's the closest that Campbell has been to making that spot all throughout the run. Coming down to the inside is Kent Wetherill, 17th place driver, and it looks like he is either coming out of his final stop, and that looks to be the call for the number 70 team. Get back out on the circuit there. You'll see him all the way to the inside. But it looks like instead he'll be going back in again. Take a listen inside the Wetherill car. Are we looking at fuel troubles? Not sure. Doesn't look to be the case. Wetherill, under his own power, will come down to pit road. And 3 laps down, bringing it in. He'll make his way down into his stall. Get some service once again. Leader lane. We'll see now 30 laps to go when he crosses the stripe, as he increasingly makes his way toward the checkered flag. 30 laps to go, eagerly anticipating those last moments. It has been James Thurston second for a majority of the night, but that no longer is the case. It's going to be Nick Tarbuck instead who finds himself with that accolade. There's really no close battles on the racetrack right now. Most drivers separate by several seconds, and if not that, they're separated now by laps. Laps, something we don't often see at the Darlington Raceway. It has become survival of the fittest. And this harkens back to the earliest races held at this circuit in the late 1940s and the early 1950s. Take a look at that with Blake Cannon. He'll go all the way to the inside. Blake, to save himself, ducks way down low. Nate Campbell now with a much better shot off the corner this time by. Side by side. And Nate Campbell will get there. Cannon with a horrible half-lap stretch. It's going to be good enough for the 45 to break through. Can Cannon now trying to come back and make another spot? Not quite, at least yet. Campbell with a big move to get in the top 5. Sam Nieto still running there. Your 1 and 2 seed remain in identical placements. John Navarro and Trevor Trago have fully broken off. And then you got Bobby Keith. Robert Richardson has gotten ahead of Ryan Bean, however. Keep that in mind. That has him tentatively in the top 10. As we look here, Ryan Bean is still fighting. And we pull it back up to the live feed. Coming to the inside, there goes Bean with a surge. The 28 car driving aggressively, pulling it through the front straight, and he'll keep the spot. Coming into the back straight. Good move there from Bean. And Robert Richardson's time in the top 10 falls back again. So Bean makes his way up. Robert Richardson is going to get sent ever so slightly down the hill. And there are less than 30 laps remaining for the Darlington Raceway. You saw there Eric McFarland pulling to the inside. He'll let these leading drivers go. 25 laps to go when leader Lane touches down for another spot. We are 159 laps in. Difference between these drivers, especially at the front of the field, has gotten much wider. However, Nick Tarbuck as of late has been a little bit faster than Ethan Lane. 25 laps to go. If he maintains the pace he's been running at, he may just have an opportunity to hang on for the rest of the race. And a correction for Ryan Bean, that is still 11th. He's one lap down. Richardson is going to be able to hang on as Bean went down a pit road, it appears. "24 laps to go. Ethan Lane crosses the start-finish line. He might have to worry a little bit more about whether or not Nick Tarbuck is quick enough to catch up. But until then, we're going to crank it up with our friends at Whiplash SimCams and give you the best angles in iRacing. Visit Whiplash-Media to learn more about iRacing's premier camera service with high-quality broadcast cameras for all tracks and all cars on the platform. Why not turn to Whiplash? Free camera packs are available on their Discord server. If you want to try out their product without any commitment, that's completely fine. Cameras are updated season after season and at broadcaster request. Customer service and up-to-date results for every iRacing event you cover. Thank you again to Whiplash SimCams for their continued support live on FTN. And with 22 laps to go, let's crank it up from Darlington. In the last few laps, you saw it live. Sam Nieto went from pressuring James Thurston to following down, and now Nate Campbell is looking for a much-needed podium. This could very well be the best run of Campbell's season, and of course, we talk about how relevant it needs to be for the driver in that number 45. This is it. Nate's going to need a top 3, pull himself up, 10th seed coming in. It all comes down to whether or not he can get past on James Thurston. To this point, of course, it's been a pretty well put together race for the driver in that number 3 in James Thurston. But I will say this much. James Thurston, he is right there with Nate Campbell, and he's slowing down pace-wise. He was already passed by Nick Tarbuck, who is convincingly faster than Ethan Lane. The gap has now gone down a second, and it just looks like Thurston continues to struggle and struggle again. The more we go down the line, the more these laps continue to tick down. Thurston has himself a little bit more difficulty. While Nick Tarbuck has now gotten the gap to less than a second and a half, it is him against himself in terms of getting himself to the race win. He's faster. Can he keep that pace? .13 to go. Campbell to the inside. He'll bring Zach Schrintenol with him, looking for help from a lapper here. Zach has stayed at the back of the fight. He hasn't really involved himself. He hasn't done much of anything in that regard. A dozen to do it, though. The 45 peaks to the inside again. Zach Schrintenol really can't seem to find a way around. James Thurston has them both locked up. Gap of 0.7 of a second. Nick Tarbuck is now right there on Ethan Lane. Lane has lost more and more in terms of this championship fight. Of course, he's still way ahead on bonus points. But what is going on now for the 84 team? Lane's in the wall. Lane's loose. In big trouble. Here comes Nick Tarbuck with 10 laps to go. Nick Tarbuck leads. Lane, all of a sudden, is losing control. He was loose all the way through 3 and 4, trying to push the car and dialing it back in, and he lost it. Tarbuck leads. The late race dramatics have fully kicked in. Tarbuck now just needs to make it the next 10 laps, and he'll take it down to 9 this time. Now James Thurston gets that caution. It could be his race to win. He's been about the best on those single-digit runs. Those short, fast, opening laps. But Nick Tarbuck is the man who has survived, and he now leads with a half second of gap and more. Ethan Lane is about as quick as Kent Wetherell on the track. It looks like the lapper might be even faster. Can you believe that Ethan Lane here has fallen back? What a shock. I mean, we haven't seen a mistake out of Lane so big since Nolan Potter's victory in Dover. As it says, 84 team P2, 1 second back. It's going to be Nick Tarbuck with the first opportunity he's had all season long to really level the score and have himself in the points lead conversation. James Thurston has fallen back on Nate Campbell. Campbell is now in P4. 4. There's Thurston Campbell, P3. The podium shifted again. A little bit of contact. No! Thurston loose! Once, twice! He'll save it! But all the way again. He'll fall back to Sam Nieto. What a save. But now Nieto's got the move. I cannot believe that save for the 3 team, but that's going to give Sam Nieto the shot to move up to 4th place. Nick Tarbuck holds fort. 5 to go for the number 4. Can you believe the run we've seen out of this driver? 3rd for the majority, that final stretch. Got by James Thurston. And of course, Lane's slip up is given way. In fact, Ethan Lane now sits in 3rd. Sam Nieto might just have a shot to go after him. James Thurston also having trouble in P5 here, and it looks like that style of riding on the edge of control has given both Lane and Thurston the same sort of difficulty. For once, with all the laps we've seen, both of these drivers are facing issues. Lane to 3rd, Campbell to 2nd, and a very rare stretch of faltering from domination all night long to, with 3 laps to go, being in 3rd. Tarbuck just has to hold his own and hit his marks. That's how far ahead he finds himself. Coming now to 2 to go. Ethan Lane still leads Sam Nieto by a second in the battle for 3rd. The lappers could shake him up here. Here's Ryan Bean for one in 11th. Getting behind, sandwiching Lane with lappers. There's Nolan Potter. Nieto has one opportunity to get back into the podium places, and he's chasing after it as hard as he can now. The white flag is next. Tarbuck, white flag, 1 lap to go. Sam Nieto chasing after Ethan Lane for a podium placement, but all eyes are on driver number 4. It hasn't been since 2024 we've seen Nick Tarbuck fight his way to victory lane. A multi-time winner, a championship contender every year, but through all the grit and determination we saw tonight, at long last, Nick Tarbuck is a winner again. Checkered flag from Darlington. Nick Tarbuck wins from the track too tough to tame and starts off the playoffs on top of the board. Lane falls to 6th. Thurston goes 5th. And to begin the most important stretch of races, Nick Tarbuck is the best of the best and finally returns to victory lane with the domination, intimidation racing sticker still on that 4. He rode alone tonight for the team, but he brings home the best result of all, winning once more. Checkered flag for Tarbuck. This win is all his. Nick Tarbuck is your winner for the Darlington Raceway, his first win this season, and it comes at the perfect time. Checkered flag falls from the Lady in Black. We'll be back with post-race coverage and results right after this message from iRacing. Stay tuned. Post-race begins right after.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Ethan Lane leads 172 of 183 laps tonight. Let's put this in context. He led them all consecutively, end to end, with no interruptions until he heads up high, bangs the turn 2 wall, and Nick Tarbuck surges through. Tarbuck leads 11 from second on the grid. He wins for the first time this season. Second goes Nate Campbell overall with Sam Nieto P3, John DeBarro in 4th, James Thurston, the first playoff spoiler, in 5th, and 6th place is Ethan Lane. Blake Cannon goes for a solid run, continuing his good return stretch, going from 27th to 7th, as Robert Richardson, Bobby Keith, and Ryan Bean conclude the top 10. 11th is Nolan Potter, Trevor Trago is 12th, Jacob Fife is 13th, and Zach Schrenthal is 14th, with David Davis, Randy Fiash, Kent Wetherell, Kevin Matz, Nicholas Ward, and Cody Smith concluding the top 10. Last on the night, Eli Cars, Eric McFarland, Aaron Eads, Alex Kim, Josh Gallagher. And then the beginning of that retiree portion with Tom Wetmore, Sean Kalist, Brad Patton, Ryan Potter, and Austin Cardule seeing the checkered flag either on pit road or on the wrecker very early. Yellow flags, we saw a few of them, but a long green flag run defines the finishing order and the race winners run tonight. It has been a long time since Nick Tarbuck has seen victory lane, and I'd say by his estimate, perhaps a little too long. But finally, this team, after waiting for seasons, well, it's been a while, and many a month, it's finally time. For the first time this year, we hear from Nick Tarbuck as a race winner. What a way to begin the playoffs. You lead the final 11 laps, and you sail home to your first win this season, a big one to start the championship hunts.
Man, that was unexpected, but I will take it. Really tough race. I think I've never been part of a race where my entire body's ached after the race, but my God, I'm sore. That was a white knuckle race. Yeah, man. I mean, had to really earn that one. I mean, it feels good to win a race like that because all the, all the big dogs of the league were at that race. It was, Ethan and Blake and James and, Nieto, Ward. Everybody was there. That was like, you got to beat these guys. You're going to have a chance to win the championship. And they were all there. And it was just, yeah, it feels good to win something like that, man.
Now, first and foremost, you had great speed all race long. Second to qualify. You stayed in the top 3 for the majority of the race. We've been here before. I know you have experience. Was there anything different? The package looked different racing-wise tonight. Did you do anything different with it?
Well, I did like 3 or 4 different things throughout the race. I mean, the whole thing felt completely different than previous Darlington races. I mean, it was so touchy. It's like, I don't know if the setup was more tuned for less horsepower, but now that we have the 750 package, it was just super, touchy on throttle. Corner exit would just, if you went, way even a little bit too much on throttle, you'd loop the car. So you had to be really careful. You had to really kind of try to burn the tires equally on the right sides. And really near that last run, I mean, I was super patient. I was holding it in fifth gear. I was really letting it coast into turn one. I was braking early for turns 3 and holding it to the bottom there. Just really trying to take super, super good care of the tires. And it obviously paid off because everybody else had tire problems. And I mean, my crew chief was yelling at me about having tire warnings and all that, but I just hoped I was able to keep the car straight and not burn them off too fast.
And of course, you can't talk about this race without talking about that late race move, taking the lead, finishing strong, and keeping composure with, as you mentioned, a very, very sensitive car here. Your long run performance was exceptional, but did you imagine to be able to cut that deficit so well?
I had no idea, to be honest. I mean, Ethan obviously took off at the start, and I was really struggling. I made some adjustments to how I was driving, and I was able to kind of hang with Ethan and Thurston there for that second, I guess, middle part of the race. But yeah, the third part, I'm like, all right, we've all had a couple resets here. We're all going to be more, aware of how to drive the car to keep it clean on the long run. But I guess I just was able to, drive it that much more carefully that I just had the tire left. I mean, it was a great running up front with those guys. It's really good to, kind of gauge myself against some great drivers like Ethan and Thurston. But yeah, I don't know. It was just, luckily my tires held on, and unfortunately for them, theirs didn't. And that's just the way she goes at a track like this.
But with all said and all done tonight, big win. And not only that, Ethan Lane finishes 6th. It's going to be very narrow on points between you two as we head to Gateway to kick off September. Now, how does it feel with an opportunity perhaps to keep stretching the good times and really get a shot at the title here?
Yeah, man, Gateway is a fun track. Really like it. It's pretty unique. So kind of similar to Darlington and a little bit just with how different the corners are and all that. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm never going to count those guys out. They'll come back stronger, and I'll have to keep upping my game. But yep, we'll see how it goes, and I'm just going to show up and do the best I can, and what happens happens.
Nick Taraba coming back to victory lane. It's been a long time coming, and perhaps no better way to return than with a run like this. Any final shout-outs you'd like to send?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight and putting on a super clean race. Really hard to do that with this setup, so that was a great job, everybody. Thanks to the admins for putting on another good race. Thanks to you for broadcasting, as always, and thanks to the boys back home for watching, my mom, my dad, and my wife.
Nick Tarba, checkered flag is yours. Big win from the track Too Tough to Tame. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Win number 1 for the 4 team, and Nate Campbell, who, of course, had to have a big race. The 10 seed looking for a way up, drove as hard as ever, past Nieto, past Thurston, past Lane, and takes P2 in a critical performance. The championship hopes perhaps alive and well more than ever before with a great podium race.
Yeah, did you ask a question? Sorry, I missed you there.
Nate Campbell, if you got a copy, just wondering, first and foremost, 2nd place, great run. How does it feel now? Perhaps your championship hopes better than they've been all season long.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely needed that one. I've had an absolutely crazy last month or so with missing a bunch of races for work. And then just kind of last week kind of developed a computer issue. So I had to roll out the backup PC for tonight. I haven't fired it up in like 3.5 years, and it barely got me through. Let me tell you, I was stuttering. I'm sure you saw me dropping all night long. But man, somehow we survived it. And thankfully, Darlington's one of my favorite and best tracks. So I've had wins there before in the past, not with this league, but I'm just real confident in Darlington. I definitely had something working in 3 and 4 there around the top. I just stuck to the top all night long, and definitely happy with it. We'll see where we're looking next week, and we'll just try to keep putting in a bunch of good runs here. So
Now tonight, qualifying 11th place, had some good placement to begin with, but you turned up the heat in the second half first and foremost. I got to wonder, were there any adjustments you made in particular that got you there? Because you started solidly, but you turned up the heat on every driver around you, especially in that last run.
Oh yeah, I actually had to go into the pits and change graphic settings. So I literally was turning my graphics down in the middle of the race. I almost completely dropped out there in the first 60 laps. So we had that first pit stop, and I was able to get in there and turn my graphic settings down, and it leveled me out a little bit and allowed me to kind of actually focus and not just let people by. I probably would have been, I don't know if I had anything for Nick, but I would have definitely been up there a little bit more in that first stage if I didn't have those computer issues. So to answer your question, yes, I did make adjustments. Just thankfully, my long run speed was incredible tonight. So very happy with that.
Perhaps not the adjustments I was expecting to hear about, but it looks like it got you all the way there. Yeah. I tell you what, September 1st, Gateway. That's what's up next on the menu. Last year, you got hotter and hotter in the Ignite series and really turned on your best performances late in the stretch. How's the feeling now that the playoff begins?
Yeah, same thing for sure. I mean, everything matters a little bit more, and you actually got a chance to put a good finish together. So hopefully we can replicate what I did last year and, get to the, top 3 in championship points and just try to put a little pressure on those fast guys up there. So we'll see what we can do.
Nate Campbell, second place on the day. If you got any final comments you'd like to share, it's all yours.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Man, thanks to everyone that was tuning in. Thanks to all my teammates, like usual, and we all help each other out a lot and talk each other through the race. So, big shout out to the boys, and big shout out to Ryan Bean for making me the new paints. He's always our painter over here at Flying V Motorsports. So, shout out to him.
Nate Campbell gets the job done. Best run we've seen in months, and a much-needed boost. Podium P2. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Final driver on the podium tonight is a driver who's had a lot of great speed, but sometimes just not the results to show for it. Nonetheless, Sam Nieto avoids all the trouble on the racetrack tonight and comes away with a firm third-place finish. Great to jump a few spots in the playoff ladder as soon as we begin.
Hey, David, how you
doing? Pretty well up here. The 2 team on fire, especially toward the late end. Made some big passes, and you made your way up to the podium. How did that go down?
Brother, I was just hanging on. I think we were all just hanging on. I think, speaking of hanging on, I'm looking at my right front fender right now. It's about to fall off. I don't think it's going to hang on much longer. So, yeah, I was just out there hanging on, and I didn't really pass anybody. They just kind of died in front of me.
Well, you mentioned it, the feeling of just barely hanging on. We spoke to Nick Tarbuck a little bit about the sort of trouble drivers were having. What was it like? Can you describe the feeling you had inside the cockpit?
Yeah, I had a different issue than everybody that I talked to. I mean, everybody was talking about having right rear difficulty, and I was just burning up my right front. I mean, I was just so freaking tight the whole race. So if I could have figured out that, I felt like my drive off was great. So, I mean, I don't know, just driving style, I guess. I was doing something different than they were, but I mean, it kind of all equaled out in the end.
And with this third place finish, championship possibilities, the sky really is the limit here. Points are narrower. We're heading back to some familiar racetracks, and the first and foremost is Gateway. What are your expectations for the 2 team in our next track?
No, I don't really go into these things with expectations. I just come in to compete, have fun. First of all, whatever happens, happens. I mean, fighting for second place anyway in the chase. So I'm here for fun. I'm not here for anything else.
Sam Nieto, third place on the day, and it looks like enjoying the ride with a great result at that. If there's anything else you want to share, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, thank you, David, putting on the great broadcast. I think Integrity Racing League, great league to race in. Congratulations to Nick Tarbuck on the win, and that's all I got. I'll see you next week.
Sam Nieto wraps up the podium with a solid run, hanging on for third place here from Darlington. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Checkered flag falls on the field tonight with Sam Nieto third place, Nate Campbell second, and Nick Tarbuck making his way to victory lane in a big way. He takes the checkered flag, his first of the season. And winning tonight means that he's got himself a very close points run with Ethan Lane as we head to our next race. That's September 1st. Another Tuesday night, Worldwide Technology Gateway Raceway. A big update to the FTN programming schedule, and the news came just a few minutes ago. FTN Broadcasting is set to continue Iora Cup Series coverage all throughout Season 8, with contributions and a part-time schedule for myself. A majority of the coverage this season will be brought to you by ABN Studios' Olivia Hayward. The broadcast will all be put through FTN Broadcasting. All races this season are set to be broadcasted end-to-end Thursday nights at 9 p.m. So a programming update, which means we'll be bringing you Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for the time being, with additional coverage as announced. Until then, thank you for tuning in to tonight's racing from the virtual Darlington Raceway. I've been David Kreutz, commentating and producing. If you enjoyed, leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is always greatly appreciated. Congratulations to Nick Tarbuck on his first win of the season. We'll see you next week from Worldwide Technology Raceway, and we'll see you on Thursday night with the Iora Cup Series. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a fantastic night.